been a strong start to the week for the FTSE 100 index, the UK 100 on the Oanda charting platform. Global equities generally have had a quite strong start to the week. The back end of last week was a little bit worrying, but it seems that we have seen a little bounce back in risk appetite on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. Now, the FTSE 100, interestingly, is underperforming, it seems, many of its counterparts. And there's a very simple explanation as to why that is. The UK 100 index is, while being a UK index, is still a global outlooking index of companies. And what that means is the vast majority of the earnings in the FTSE 100 companies is generated abroad. So it is still highly sensitive to the movements in the currency. And it seems that everything in the markets right now is revolving around the US and more specifically, the movements in the US dollar. And this is no different. We've seen the pound jump from around 126 against the US dollar a couple of weeks ago up above 131 against the US dollar now. And the strength in the currency that we're seeing is being offset by weakness in the index. A stronger pound obviously makes these foreign earnings a little bit less valuable when it's converted back to the UK currency. So that's why we have seen the UK index underperform its peers over the course of the last couple of weeks, and it's been no different really over the course of the last few days. But what we have seen is it has rebounded. It did fall back towards around the 58.50 level towards the back end of last week. But we have broken through 6,000 again, and it has approached 6,100 today. Whether this can be sustained is going to be really interesting over the next couple of days. We're below the 55-day simple moving average, and that comes in around the 6,200 mark. So I think that's going to be a really interesting test as far as this particular index is concerned. And we're also now back into the areas of the kind of 50 and 61.8% Fibonacci retracement levels as well. So I think we could potentially see a big test of this UK index, a big test of sentiment really globally, because while the currency does mean that the index has been underperforming, we are still trending alongside global sentiment right now. And it does seem that global sentiment throughout the last couple of summer months, has stalled somewhat, and there's a few reasons for that. Whether that is the fact that we are seeing second waves appearing in the US in particular, but we are also seeing little spikes elsewhere. The funding bill in the US, the relief bill that Congress is currently engaged on right now, is taking longer than expected, and that could have economic consequences as well. So again, very US focused, but it does have ramifications elsewhere. And it does seem to have just weighed a little bit on sentiment over the course of this summer period. Earnings season's gone better than expected, but we're still coming from a very low base of around 35% earnings declines. So this is we're still very much in kind of uncharted territory here. The outlook is improved, but still very much clouded, and that's potentially why we have seen this kind of stall more generally across the equity market space. But as I say, there is some key levels now to be tested. If we can break back above 6,200 in the FTSE 100, then I do think that this could be quite a bullish signal, at least in the near term. If we run into resistance around then and we start to come back towards the 6,000 levels, maybe even 58.50s, that could be potentially a worrying signal. It is worth noting that 58.50 was a 10% correction from the peak around 6,500 previously. So there is a chance that this is just a corrective move that has fully played out. But I think that will become much more clear now over the course of the next few weeks. So as I say, a few things to keep a close eye on here now that we're coming towards the back end of earnings season. One is going to be the situation in the US, the impact that this has on the US economic outlook, which does reverberate globally, and that is around US funding, the relief package in particular, but obviously tensions as well with China is always going to be at the forefront. And the other thing is going to be the currency, and we've seen obviously the dollar has dramatically fallen off over the course of the last few weeks, and that has had the knock-on effect elsewhere, particularly, as I've already said, on the pound and therefore the FTSE 100 index, or the UK 100, as you'll see on the chart in front of you. So these are things which I think is going to be a common theme over the course of the next few weeks and could determine whether we've seen a full 10% correction and that's as far as it's going to go, or whether those lows are going to be tested once again.